Impoverished by wars we have never started. We're insulted by those that sit in our town halls. You look to the light that burns within you. Let nature guide you, not the church or any prince. You have seen around you the mark of Cain. The church has grown greedy. Take back the property that the church has stolen from you. Go back home. Go back home now. Do not pay tithes on your cattle. Go on home. Move, quick.
Why don't you sit here?
Thank you, Operinus.
That's Booker's counting house.
We're a little early. It's not yet 2 o'clock.
I'll get along and arrange the horses. There's your man.
Fire! Robber of the poor! Usurer! Corrupt counselor to the boy emperor!
So that's Anton Fugger. Rich beyond measure, well-informed, ruthless, a finger in every pie. If there's a banker in all Europe who can finance the retaking of Rhodes, it's Fugger.
We have a mutual friend, Hospitaller. You will be meeting him soon. In the north of Italy, at Udine. He is a doctor of some fame.
Theophrastus. You mean Paracelsus. How do you know these things?
Minster knows it. Minster knows many things. He has the inner eye. He sees things at a distance. He sees things in the future. He sees revolt. Peasants revolt. Soon. Now.
Minster. Can you peasants speak of nothing
His
else?
name is on the lips of the downtrodden. His name is on every peasant's lips because he is in every peasant.
What has this to do with my friend Paracelsus?
Minster wants you to take something for him. He is to seek out Martin Schwanhausen, who is our agent in the area of Salzburg.
You assume too much. Paracelsus...
I assume nothing. I see you have a scar. Not only on your right cheekbone, but also on your right arm from the same stroke of the Turks. Scimitar at Rhodes. It is a grievous wound. Dr. Paracelsus healed that against all odds. Had it not been for him, you would now be without an arm.
I must go now. I have an appointment.
With Fugger. This is for Schwanhausen. Martin Schwanhausen.
More deliveries of bullion. That should help.
Yes, another consignment from South America. San Pedro, docked at Genoa, sir. The paper's on your desk. The manifest says 4 tons.
Let's have your report on Guayac.
It's hard to tell where we stand with Guayac sales. We have a large, very large stock. Strasbourg, 14 bales. Leipzig, 25 bales.
Our stocks are larger than ever. What happened to our sales in Nuremberg and Basel?
Mercury, sir. I have confidential reports that Protestant doctors are turning away from Guayac.
But Guayac has been recommended by the most eminent doctors in the empire.
Yes, but it is whispered in hospices up and down the countryside that it does more harm than good.
It is a West India remedy for a West Indian disease, and I have invested in it. That is enough.
As you will. I merely report the facts. You'll find our sales figures here.
What's this final note? You recommend our secretly buying up cinnabar mines in Dalmatia. Well, they do produce the finest mercury. I'll think about it. Who's that waiting out there?
A knight of St. John, sir. His defense estimates are right in front of you.
Show him in.
Knight Commander Bolsover, sir.
Herr Fugger. Naturally, I'm impressed with the work of your order, Commander. I like to give help to anyone who supports the Emperor and Christendom. But I am a banker. And you, your Order of St. John, has suffered a disastrous defeat. You now have no home, no fleet, no home port, no assets, and I fear not many friends.
We withdrew to avoid further bloodshed and the massacre of the population of the island. We were never actually defeated in battle. We had been abandoned by the Emperor.
Be careful what you say, young man. We are bankers and minters of coinage to His Imperial Majesty. In your defeat, he was at least in sympathy with you.
I meant no disrespect, but just one squadron of ships to relieve us. 1,000 men-at-arms, nay, even 200 knights. A few batteries of cannons, some provisions, and we could have beaten the infidels. Surely that could have been provided.
You want me to finance an expedition to retake Rhodes. The Emperor has no money for such a venture, and you have no security.
But you would have our word as knights.
I'm impressed by your Order of St. John, but money is becoming very short. Nations are using mercenaries, and mercenaries have to be paid. When they are not, they cause trouble. Every scruple of gold we can lay our hands on is being minted into coinage to pay the Emperor's forces. That gold bullion there comes from the New World. By nightfall, our minters will have converted it to guildens, and now you want money.
I fear I have been wasting your time.
You're quite wrong. I intend to lend your order the money. But it will not be at ordinary rates of interest. You cannot expect that with no security. Now, you came through Dalmatia.
I would be wary of doing business in that area, sir.
You mean the Turks?
They're everywhere, now that Rhodes is gone. Turkish pirates in the Adriatic, hordes of them infiltrating since Belgrade fell, dare not even use Muslim slaves there.
Now, there's an asset.
How do you mean? On Rhodes, slaves were often an embarrassment to us. With the destruction of even a small Turkish fleet, we would be swamped with them.
But supposing you had an inexhaustible demand for them, and they fetched a good price, more than enough to pay the interest on your loans.
I can't conceive of any such circumstances without misuse. I disapprove of misuse of slaves.
They could be used in mining and industry. Our mercury mines at Almaden in Spain, they could take thousands of slaves. If you're a good Catholic, well, there anything goes. We use mules there for the hardest work. Stubborn, unreasonable animals. Whenever we mine cinnabar, mercury, I mean, they just don't do well.
Well, Paracelsus was always suspicious of mercury. He classified it with the poisons to be used with care.
Now, I think Muslim slaves would do much better than mules. It's hot work, and Syrians, I know, love the heat. And slaves don't complain like our journeymen. I need to consult with my brother on the matter. If your order would contact me there, I think you could begin to set your sights on Rhodes, young man.
Go and give my vitriol a stir, will you? And when it gives off its blackest fumes, come and tell me.
What is it that's in the pot, Theophrastus?
A remedy for the falling disease, epilepsis. This area is rife with it. Fumes of vitriol can hold off an attack. That's what's in the pot. It stops the consciousness slipping away. What a mob.
Look at that scoundrel over there. He's never worn that armor in battle, I'll warrant you. And that thug there, he wears his dagger as if it were
I'm on my way north to see my father.
He's still alive, then?
He's town physician at Villach. I haven't seen him for 18 years.
How have you fared since our surrender at Rhodes? Are you still working for the Venetians?
Yes. I looked at their mercury mines in Dalmatia. Their miners were dying by the score. I told them it was the mercury vapor. I don't think they'll listen to me.
They are hard taskmasters.
Yes. I'm sick of them. I've carried Venetian dispatches into almost every nation in Europe. Trade. That's all the Venetians are interested in. Trade. I've served them in Naples, Spain, France, the Netherlands, England, Denmark.
Then why do you still work for them?
I needed the money for my publications, my experiments.
Then serving as a surgeon on the battlefields in Europe was just a cover-up for your diplomatic missions.
No. The two went together. No one thinks of searching a surgeon just off the battlefield. But I grew to hate war. roads was the last straw. I'm sick of commerce. I'm sick of the church. And I'm sick of war. They all go together in one stinking brew, which I can't stomach any longer.
Theophrastus, do you know of Thomas Munzer?
Yes. I met him at Frankfurt. He was a graduate there. We discussed mystical states. I told him I once experienced an inner light, brighter than 10,000 suns. What of him?
Then it fits. Munzer has had the same experience. He talks of an inner light that came to him with great radiance. He says it is in every man. I've met his disciples on the way from Augsburg again and again. All of them say this light should be obeyed before all else, before even than the scriptures.
That's true. It's the same light that glows in the heart of all things. Light of nature that guides all creatures and gives meaning to the divine. Munzer teaches this?
Yes, just that. Thousands of peasants are gathering round him, hundreds of thousands, convinced that he can free them of their miseries. A disciple of his asked me to give you this. He must have known of your whereabouts. It is the brogue, the symbol of the peasant cause. Munzer asks that you deliver it personally to a peasant leader in the region between Villach and Salzburg.
The inner light must have guided him. Who do I deliver this to?
A Martin Schwanhausen, north of Villach.
Well, Offerinus?
Your concoction is giving off black fumes, and your spoon has partly changed to copper. You are an alchemist.
Well, yes. Sort of. Tomorrow you will leave for Salzburg. I want you to find us suitable rooms there. First, I must visit my father.
Now stand back, get out of the way! What is that?
It's his ear, sir. The barber stuck it on with daub and paste.
See this, dear lord. Witness my provocation. Do you live here and allow almost under your own roof such barbaric surgery? Is there no end to your incompetence and professional neglect? I would have expected better treatment of this boy at the hands of a vandal. Operinus, help this man up to my rooms. Harry, I need lint and hot water.
They dared to call themselves surgeons and physicians. They were no better than scullery maids and butcher's assistants. It was the sight of that youth's mutilated ear in the tavern made me realize I could not escape my destiny. The evils of surgery had to be expunged. No longer could I stand back from the horrors perpetrated in the name of surgery.
My
I'll give you a note. You're to do only light duties. Ask your wife to come and see me. She'll have to go and see the almoner. All right, Max, help him down. I was done. Oh, no matter. How came you by your illness?
Through my father.
And what is the nature of your illness?
Some call it homesickness. I call it love.
Francie, my son, but no longer little, and no longer Theophrastus, I gather, but Paracelsus, famous doctor and surgeon.
Yes, famous. Even Villach has heard of your exploits. And then you were in that awful siege at Rhodes.
Yes, Father. I've not heard from you since then. Max, bring us some honeymead.
So when my work in Dalmatia was done, I decided to come home. But I'm still restless. I don't know where I'd like to settle. I had thought Salzburg.
No, not Salzburg. Now, Nuremberg is a bristle with new thinking, and prosperous, too. Armaments, you know. Since Maximilian halted the Turks here, only a few miles down the road, 25 years ago, these big imperial cities have grown fatter and fatter.
Why not Salzburg?
Stay here with me in Villach. You could take over this practice, or go back to Switzerland. But Salzburg, no. There's going to be an uprising, and Salzburg will be at the center of it. It won't be just a local brawl this time with a few peasants being turned off their land, but a vicious conflict with peasants, miners, and guildsmen on one side challenging the church, the merchants, the princes, even the empire itself.
Papa, I've never heard you talk like this before. You're always so calm and conciliatory.
Like you, I sympathize desperately with the plight of the common man. Oh, Theophrastus. If you could see the conditions under which our own miners have to work, they're no better than when you left 18 years ago. And the peasants were nothing to show for centuries of serfdom. Even those who fight their way through to knighthood by heroic deeds in the wars, even they are impoverished. The merchants and the nobility suck everything out of the land. There is nothing left for the masses. I don't want to become involved, but the things one sees and hears.
I do want to become involved. I can't bear their plight any longer. Papa, do you know a Martin Swanhausen around here? The name seems so familiar to me.
Yes, I do. The Schwanhausens worked land near here. I thought they owned it. When Fugger, the banker, bought out the emperor's mines here, well, a lot of the peasants were forced off their plots. It was very sad. The Schwanhausens moved north. Martin Schwanhausen. Now, he's a big fella. He's a few years younger than me. Wild with ideas. Good brain, but no education. I've seen him down here once or twice amongst the miners. They love him.
I have something for him. Martin Schwanhausen? I'm looking for Martin Schwanhausen.
I'm Martin Schwanhausen. What do you want of me?
I'm glad I found you, but I must speak with you in private.
Go about your business, lads.
I am Paracelsus. My father is town physician here. Don't you remember me?
Then you're young Philip Hohenheim, back from the wars. I remember you, young scallywag, always going down the mines when your father was teacher there. Yes, you once tied me brogues together when I was taking a nap in the fields.
Yes, I confess to that. But I have further proof that I'm one of you.
So, we're ready at last. Why should I trust you?
You have been given the names of several places where you are to assemble. I have the name of your assembly point. You're to take your forces there.
Schladming.
And there's something else for you, Martin. In the upper of that shoe. Something that will buy you the wherewithal for your victory at Schladming. It was a present from a prince of Tartary. I freed him of his lice. No, I have no use for it.
Then God be praised for sending you to me.
I must leave you now. And may the Lord bless you.
And God be with you, my son.
Miners themselves.
And you think...
You again, Martin. You're not drunk. What's all this about? Oh, my God! Oh, my God! Oh! Yeah! Oh!
The surgeon returned.
Banks, the door.
Dr. Hohenheim?
Yes. Will you sit?
Thank you. I have the gout.
Rich man's curse.
I'll come to the point, Dr. Hohenheim. I'm alarmed at the way this mining community is conducting itself. The mining magistrates report repeated acts of insubordination and deliberate negligence, I should say sabotage.
Oh, yes, I'm aware of that. I put in a report showing that many accidents occurring were due to the exhaustion of the miners and to illnesses arising from their occupations. Other medical opinions support me.
I'm not concerned with medical reports and other kinds of humbug. My investment here is considerable. You must well know.
The extent of your enterprises in this area, Herr Fugger. You mine iron, sulfur ores, tin, mercury, a little gold, and a lot of silver, all of which can harm your workers. I've helped provide you with technicians, the sappers who blow the lead mountain apart, the miners who sweat in darkness and emerge in darkness at night, who are 7 times more likely to die of lung disease than anyone else. Oh, yes, Herr Fugger. I know something of your enterprises here.
The empire is desperately short of coinage. Silver is especially needed. There must be no halting of production.
What has all this to do with me? I am not a works foreman or an overseer.
Now, I thought...
You thought that I would perform for you here in Villach, where your miners and the local peasants are restless.
Your services as a teacher at my mining school here have not gone unnoticed. You are respected. Your medical practice is extensive and makes you influential amongst the miners themselves.
And you think that I should persuade the miners to continue as they are? Worn out, neglected, overtaxed, underpaid chattels?
I was told you had a calming influence here. I see that I was mistaken. You are truculent.
Even if I were prepared to act as your agent to defuse the tension here, I am now too feeble to ride. To ride into the mountains and defuse trouble there. It is from there that the trouble will come.
You have a son, a surgeon returned from the wars, formerly an agent for the Venetians.
My son is going to Salzburg to settle. Unlike me, he is actively hostile against oppression.
Then He should be very careful how he treads in Salzburg. Archbishop Lang rules with a very firm hand.
In last rebellion there, he reoccupied the city at the head of 1,000 mercenaries, wearing a breastplate and a cardinal's hat. Some archbishop.
Yes, he gets a little exuberant when he has funds available. Still, be warned, he will brook no nonsense from rebellious miners and peasants, nor from those who speak for them.
The Archbishop is sick and his mind is affected. He is a tyrant. His days are numbered, mark me. He will die insane. And his lands, I'm sure you know how extensive they are. They will fall to the peasants if the Duke of Bavaria does not winkle them off in furs.
You are well informed, but I warn you that the Swabian League will mop up very quickly any insurrection here or in Salzburg.
Yes, I heard that you had advanced the League a large loan conditional to its crushing the peasants in southern Germany, but this is Austria, and it is mountainous.
Archduke Ferdinand is resident at Innsbruck. He won't allow rebellion here either.
With due respect, everyone knows His Majesty the Emperor is kept poor by his bankers. You should know that, Herr Fugger. The peasants have no complaints against their monarch, but against those who rule for him and advise him.
Presumably, that includes me. I am an imperial advisor, a counselor to the emperor, as you well know. I'm here to warn this community that Bavarian troops will descend on it if there is any revolt, and I appeal to you to stop it.
Herr Fugger, many of your miners I delivered into this world with these hands. Some of them I taught at your school the science of alchemy and mineralogy. A few of these I have tended below ground when they have died, crushed by the same ores which make you rich.
You expect me or my son, a doctor of fame and repute, to deliver them into eternal bondage, into enslavement when they have a chance to break free?
Be careful what you say, Herrnheim.
I am surprised you ask me. Not even your father, a weaver by trade, would have asked me to do that.
Let us not discuss our fathers, Dr. Herrnheim, lest it bring shame upon your head as well. It is not generally known around here that you were raised in bastardy. I merely wanted your assurance that my miners will not join the rebelling peasants here and bring disgrace on the house of Fugger. I see that you will not give that assurance. Perhaps one day you will have to. Good day.
Martin Schwanhausen!
Paracelsus, what brings you here? You're a man of peace, a man of medicine.
I bring you news from Salzburg. The miners there will support you.
Good.
I have misgivings. They're untrained. They're not versed in the art of war.
They're simple people, and I'm a simple man. I've lived under tyranny for more years than I care to remember. Now's the time to resist. Now's the time to revolt.
I'm sorry, there's no other way.
No, there's no other way. The Archbishop thinks more of the contents of his purse than he does of the bellies of his peasants. If he won't listen to reason, then he must heed the sword or die by it.
No answers to so many questions.
There's your answer, Paracelsus. Listen to them.
Oh, God, I pray that the end may be well.
Today begins a new awakening, a new dawn. Let us fight for our rights. You are few here, but out there are thousands. Go, arm yourselves.
Father, why did you name me Theophrastus? It was a heavy title for such a small boy.
You asked me that once before when you were hardly out of the cradle.
And when I left for university.
Well, now I can answer you. Why do you call yourself Paracelsus?
I read some of Celsus's works. They excited me. I felt something. An affinity for him.
Exactly. An affinity. But it was more than that. My son, you often read the books in our library here. I used to see your face light up, wondering at their contents. When you were a child, during the long winters at Einsiedeln, I mastered these works, but not unaided. Long before your mother, long before she died, you preferred to be with me. Indeed, you would not let me leave the house without you. I discouraged you at first, anxious that you should bring some happiness into her life, too.
Papa, don't.
Yes, my son, I must. You are no longer a boy, and I have held back these matters for so long. When your accident occurred, she was at her work, nursing in the hospital at Einsiedeln. She never forgave herself for being away. Her self-reproaches tore me in two. And when she threw herself off the Devil's Bridge in front of you, you were only 9 at the time. I felt she was trying to punish me.
Papa, why should you think that? You were always kindness itself. She was sick. I know that now. Depressed. I have described the whole syndrome in one of my papers. There was no blame on you.
There was. I loved your company, and I was lonely without her. I encouraged you to go with me on my rounds, fearful that something else should happen to you if I left you at the inn. We had those lovely hikes together, collecting healing herbs on the slopes of the Alps.
I loved it as much as you. It served me in good stead, meeting your patients, talking firsthand to the sick, sitting with them, with you, when they died or gave birth.
That is true. But there was another reason why I loved to have you with me, perhaps more than I should. When you were with me, sleeping or playing by my side, my mind used to open up. The books I read, those classics of ancient and metaphysical thought, those books came alive. I traded ideas with their authors. A higher intelligence that was more related to you than to me descended, spoke to me, spoke through me, explained the abstract texts that I was reading, suggested remedies and diagnoses for my patients. It was wonderful.
What did you learn from him?
From him, from that divine being, I dared not call him God. The all the wisdom and love that transcended everything that I had previously experienced. But it happened only when you were with me, and when you set off on your travels, he left too. What did I learn from him? I learnt that man returns to earth many, many times. I learned that I had been on Earth before, not always as a doctor, and that you had been with me in some of those lives.
The doctrine of rebirth is widespread throughout the East. But like the Turks, it stopped short at the gates of Christendom. I accept it.
I learned that in one of your previous lives, you had been Theophrastus, the great scientist of antiquity, and that if I nurtured you carefully and guided you well in your early days, you could be as great as he.
You mean the Theophrastus who was the successor to Aristotle and head of the Lyceum at Athens?
Just so. And so I gave you his name. 300 years later, you incarnated again as Celsus, the Roman physician who treated the Emperor Tiberius. It was no surprise to me when you chose his name of your own volition. In the eyes of the world, Paracelsus, you will stand beside Celsus, parallel to him and exceeding him, and your works, like his, will affect the medicine of the future. There. It is done. I have told you matters which are for your ears only.
Papa, you have always refreshed me. You were my first teacher, and the only one who really understood me, encouraged me, indulged me with your library of metaphysics, equipped me with the true medicine. Now, you have given me knowledge of my own immortality. Why should I ever fear? Why should I ever rush? I shall come again and again to this planet until it has been made heaven on earth. Poverty is not a curse. It is a blessed state. And we should not grab for ourselves, but we should live for the common good of all men. And the emperor should be the agent of that common good. The emperor should be the guarantor of the golden age that once was. It was an age that shall return to this earth. When shall it return?
Early in July, Martin was ready. His peasant forces suddenly appeared at Schladming. There he put to good use the proceeds from the diamond I'd given him. He bribed the gatekeepers to hand over the keys, and his troops took possession. Half the Swabian forces were now trapped inside Schladming, and the other half had been to a church parade on foot outside the gates. Only their leader, Dietrichstein, was on horseback. Our musketeers shot his horse from under him. The rest of his knights attacked the gates, but they had no chance. After a bloody battle, the knights surrendered.
This is the main room? Yes, you're right. It is spacious. I hope you explained to Herr Bushel that we need to make some alterations here.
Yes, the usual requirements of an alchemy kitchen.
Oh, no. We need much more than that this time. Operinus, I want you to prepare this place, every inch of it, for sick men. Prepare it as if it were to be a hospital or a casualty station, for an epidemic of violence.
A hospital? Are you expecting battle casualties?
Yes, and I want this fireplace functioning, with plenty of logs available to warm the wounded in shock and cautery.
A fire in the middle of summer?
Yes, and bring me beds, blankets, bandages, bales of hay and palliaces, surgical instruments, and food supplies. Now, we have very little time. Do not obstruct me, Operinus, and find me some surgeons.
Herr Bushel has had to register us with the authorities. It's a law. The Archbishop's orders.
That could prove difficult if we should lose at Schladming.
We've already had a visit from the Archbishop's agents.
How far are we from Schladming?
Not far. 12 leagues. Isn't that where the Bavarian forces are lodged?
Yes. Schladming.
We have the gates! Now the castle!
Fire one!
These masses are so tedious, Fugger.
I'm afraid your grace has been poorly advised. Everywhere else, peasant rebellions have been suppressed. It's only here in Salzburg they are allowed to succeed.
What more can I do? I spend every penny I get from you maintaining General Dietrichstein's army. And his troops are not paid, they go on the rampage. Dietrichstein has earned for himself the name of Butcher of Styria. And his cruelty is outraging everyone in Salzburg.
I don't care what he does, as long as there's control over the booty. Now, these spoils of war are legitimately yours. Out of them, you should be able to repay the loans I make you.
It is still not enough.
You have other sources of revenue, too, your silver mines. But your repayments are irregular.
Now, be fair. Production of silver from my mines has been no less affected than yours. I have almost as many soldiers below ground supervising as I have miners. What is more, the peasants are stubborn. Many refuse to pay their tithes.
It's because you're too soft.
I get nothing but guile instead of guilders.
Where is Dietrichstein at the moment?
A town not far from here. He is billeted at Schladming, a most savage and expensive contingent, and his knights are positively rapacious.
Your grace is being naive, perhaps losing the thread of relevance. What counts is results. You're not getting results because you don't hire disciplined troops, and you don't pay them regularly. You worry too much about the peasants. It's the miners that bring you wealth.
How do you handle them?
Like you should your Swiss soldiers. Pay them regularly.
You promised the miners of Villach and Gastein would not revolt, but they have.
I have plans to deal with the miners of Villach. Have you a list of agitators?
I have it here. Rather a long one. The miners are at the top of the list. Who have you in mind?
A doctor, name of Hohenheim.
Only one doctor, near the end of the list. A newcomer.
Yes, this is the man.
I would have had him brought in already. But he has influential friends in Salzburg, even amongst the princes themselves. Did you know he comes from the Swabian nobility? I could detain him a short while, but as yet we have no charges.
I would like him picked up on some pretext the moment I give the word. His father holds the key to the miners' rebellion in Villach.
Does he not?
Dispatches for his grace.
Peasant insurgents have launched a surprise attack on Schladming. The peasants have captured ammunition and arms, but have no one skilled enough to use gunpowder. Half of Dietrichstein's knights have gone over to the peasants. They appear to have money and are well led.
The wounded from Schladming began to swamp my surgery. There were the usual horrifying wounds of battle casualties. We did our best. I managed to keep amputations down. Only a few succumbed. But it was hard work.
No feathers, no cow dung, no urine. Just leave the wound open to the air. Nature will do the rest. Just try to prevent infection. We can assist nature in her ways. Try and get some experience in these matters. But don't suture a wound while it is dirty. Clean the wound with the milk of lime. When you do suture a wound, bring the edges of the wound close together. Use nature's remedies where you can. Use the plants that are in season. For the thunder of headache, use the bark of willow, shaving it close. Its easy-flowing branches soothes the pain.
Rebel peasants replaced the guards, and the Archbishop was virtually a prisoner in his own palace. His health quickly deteriorated.
After Schladming, their leaders wanted to replace me with a Bavarian prince. And I refused to budge. Do you know what they did?
Yes, they drove stakes through every prisoner they took at Schladming who couldn't speak German.
There you are. Do you expect me to be resolute before such monsters? I immediately gave them everything they asked for. I should be swept from office. I know it. I know it.
For heaven's sake, no, you won't. Help is coming. Many of the princes...
Help? You and your princes. Where's the Duke of Bavaria? You promised he would help.
Soldiers of the Swabian League are on their way here. Count Salem is coming.
How can you be sure?
Because I am paying for the mercenaries.
You are? Bless you. Bless you.
Count Salem is going to retake Schladming. He is going to make such an example of the town that no rebel around here will ever forget it.
You are a magician.
Nonsense. I am a financier. And in the end, I expect you to pay. I have even better news. The princes have inflamed Luther against the peasants. Luther has called for them to be slaughtered.
Possible, you must be mistaken.
Oh, Luther has taken fright and condemned the peasants outright.
But a few months ago he was stirring them into action.
Even God's elect has his price, it would seem.
The end of the Protestants. I shall run up my flag immediately, and all will say, there is the champion of Mother Church.
You'll do nothing of the sort. You will placate the rebels. You will tell them anything you like until our forces are ready.
I do not feel ill.
I have also hired some batteries of artillery from Italy. When they reach us, you can provoke a quarrel with the peasants and lead them on to our guns. We'll give them rebellion. This'll do.
Damn it. Those peasants, they've overrun my factories. Get the hell out of here.
Oh, Martin, Martin.
No, let me be. My brave peasants are like lambs, abandoned to ravenous wolves. Tell them to scatter to the woods, to the wind. Like my proud swan, they swim bootless against the oppressing tide.
Go get help. Yes. Yes.
Anna, what have we here? A rabbit warren? More like a butcher shop. Field Surgeon Theophrastus von Hohenheim.
What of it?
You're all under arrest. All of you. Give me your sword.
On what charges?
On charges of treason and insurrection. Come with me.
Bring in the prisoner, Philippus Hohenheim. Ah, yes. Dr. Hohenheim, the younger. You have caused us much concern here in Salzburg. You speak against the secular authority in the taverns of the city, and even berate the church. My authority, my church.
I speak against violence and I support the Emperor.
You are seen to bear arms, which is strange for a doctor.
I have never used my sword in anger or in violence. Occasionally, I have had to dispatch the mortally wounded with it as an act of common humanity when they were suffering. And in the pommel, for protection, I keep precious and dangerous drugs.
Yes. It is reported that you are an excellent army surgeon who refuses to serve the Swabian League. But in fairness, who treats the wounded of both sides with skill and with compassion. Are you aware that I am a very sick man, Dr. Hohenheim?
Yes. The signs of your physical condition are the talk of the marketplace, and of those fools who call themselves doctors in Salzburg.
Can you improve on them?
Yes?
What am I suffering from?
You are suffering from a blood disorder which falls under the rulership of the planet Mars, and is therefore related to iron and its forces.
Go on.
It is exacerbated by war and its effects. It is greatly aggravated by alcohol. The disorder is extremely rare. It is inherited, another Mars factor. It is found frequently in royal families, especially if there is a German connection.
Brilliant! But there is something you've missed so far.
Sometimes when you pass water, it is purple.
Gracious God! And your servant of my bedchamber knows that. What else?
You are sensitive to intense light. In full armor, you entered Salzburg wearing a cardinal's hat to shade you, when a helmet would have been more appropriate. You also scratch and fidget because of the iron in your skin. And you have increasing periods of madness.
How dare you! No. It is only too true, every word you say. And the prognosis?
No one can cure it, but I alone can provide treatment which will ease your symptoms.
What is it?
Your condition is of iron. You should try using magnets, placing them wherever the pulse may be felt.
Would you treat me?
No. I'm needed by the peasants. Anyone can place magnets on you. You don't require me.
You're a very blunt young man.
When your condition becomes acute, it needs blunting. Magnetism can do this for you. I mean no disrespect.
I cannot release you yet. Your detention is not entirely in my hands, but while you are under my roof, I can guarantee your safety, at least, while I am sane. I may take your advice. I have had your house searched. There were some magnetic devices in your luggage. I will, with your permission, keep the lodestones, but your magnetic needle will be returned to you. You will require it for your further journeys, which will take you well away from Salzburg. Guard! Return the prisoner to his cell.
Every day, the jailer tells me of more atrocities, more bloodshed. All those poor people, their hopes, their dreams, shattered. Their lives in ruins, their children slaughtered. And all in the name of God. I can do nothing. Done to them? What have we done to them?
I trust your journey was not too uncomfortable.
It was kind of you to make your carriage available to me. Thank you. Now will you tell me why you have brought me to this monster's palace?
Have a care for your words, Hohenheim. Your son's life may depend on them. I brought you here to see your son. He is imprisoned here in the palace, not in Salzburg itself.
Before I see Theophrastus, I would want to know what sort of deal, what brand of infamy you were expecting of me.
I will overlook your insolence because I can understand your distress. Your son is on a charge of treason. The penalty is death, and there is no one in Salzburg who can free him except myself. If I have him freed, I want from you what I asked of you before, that you help pacify the miners in Villach and its environs and get them back to work.
Or you will have him put to death.
But for me, he would have been hanged from the gibbet in this very courtyard after being broken on the rack. Unlike me, the Archbishop is touchy about being insulted in the taverns and byways of his own capital city. I've had to restrain him and even bribe his jailers to keep your son alive. Thousands have been executed already. You must have seen them hanging from every tree on your way here. Now make your decision.
Those poor men and their terrible miners' diseases.
You would not have said that had you seen some of them on the battlefield a few days ago. They overran 4 artillery batteries as if they were plowed land. Did you know Martin Schwanhausen? Ah, I see you did. He was killed. A cannonball took his leg off at point-blank range. Before he died, he told his peasants to return to their homes. I would like you to do the same.
I will do it, but on one condition.
You are hardly in a state to impose conditions.
On one condition. That you have a hospital built at the mines, and that you pension sick miners when I recommend it to the mining board. I can at least repay these poor men for this dreadful betrayal.
Ah, here's His Grace. You know Dr. Hohenheim? He has agreed to help us in Villa. He will calm the miners there.
Your son has been naughty, Dr. Hohenheim. Had he not voiced support for the Emperor, as is his wont in the tavern speeches, I would at least have had him whipped by now. We should also thank Herr Fugger for his timely intervention. Here is a release order for the German doctor.
A release order, Your Grace?
Did you know, Herr Fugger, that man suffers more at night when he is tortured than during the day? It's the mental factor, you know. Too many disturbances during the day. Our torturers are always busier at night. You said something, Hohenheim? But then you would know this, being a doctor. You wish to see your son now?
No. No. He must never know anything of my visit.
Oh, that is well. He will be taken to the city gates and released. If he is seen in Salzburg again, he will be executed immediately after the rack. Go, release him.
Hohenheim, you're free to go.
Free?
Don't ask questions. Just go.